we discussed yesterday class? Yesterday we have discussed the basic fundamental of Kubernetes. We have also covered discuss Kubernetes architecture, and also we discuss the component of the master cluster, how many services are running on the master and how many services are running on the worker machine. And also we have started using our Kubernetes cluster using two methods. One is called Minikube installation. So we have also designed a cluster, set up a cluster using Minikube. But the problem with the Minikube, guys, that installation called all-in-one installation. That means one machine act as the master and the worker node. So overcome this problem, the next installation we have started, which is called KubeADN installation. That particular installation, we did it in our local machine. So we have created the minimum 2 VMs we have created, and we have started installation. And there are steps I have already said. Hopefully you have started you have completed installation on your laptop. So if not, you can please do the installation once you get a time. And so today we will focus more about if anybody
Santosh, sorry, I completed my I made my cluster, sir, and with the master and the worker node. But my only question is, I rebooted my both the nodes, but then what I found is whenever I used to run kubectl get node command, it actually says that that the local host was not found on 8080. So again, I had to actually recreate and not recreate. I had to again you give ownership to that particular the config file. So I had to do that step again, and also again recreate the Weave network. So that step I had to again recreate. So my question was, why is it not persistent across reboots? Is there something?
Is it changing your IP address?
No, IP is the same. I've checked.
Okay, so what you need to do is, are you logging root user or local user?
Well, when you do your Weave network, of course you have to be the root user on the master. And even when you actually give ownership to that particular admin.config file, you have to become a normal user, but then you have to do yours. You have to actually do it as a sudo user.
Okay, so my case, it's not happening because I have rebooted multiple times. So no, I just need to check it. Okay.
No, what has happened is I've done it only once, but I had to then my configuration, the kubectl commands wouldn't work. So, but then I had to do this again, and then it worked. Since then I have not rebooted. I've kept it like that. It's all right. It shows. Yeah.
That's fine. Don't worry. Yeah. That will not happen usually. So you can do directly on if you are logging with root user, you just need to do the export command.
Yes.
Or those commands you can also put it in /etc basrc file, so that whenever you logging the user, it will just try to it will read that the basrc file, and it will apply to your base cell. So don't worry, we'll see that. I'll if it happening again, so I'll connect with you. I'll find out the root cause.
Okay. I'll try putting it in. No, if it happens again, I'll try this base RC and let's see. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. 1 second.
I have 2 questions. Hello.
Hey, I think Santosh has gone away.
Maybe.
Yeah. Now it is settled, but I will check again. I'll again reboot. That was my only problem. Otherwise, it works great.
But my virtual box is the same host adapter, right? That was not getting created for some reason on my.
Host adapter, because probably, see, there are two types of host adapter. When you actually select your host adapter, there's one which says it's where it is physically connected to ETH2, and there's one which is connected just to your host adapter over the Ethernet. I think you have to select over the Ethernet, not the physical adapter. Don't select ETH2. Then the IP range. It does give a problem. It happened with me too. Yes, both of them, Minikube and the KAD. Both of them. No. Actually, Minikube. The only problem was, my what was that here? The those commands when you run. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit lost. The commands which you run where you check the cluster info, etc., etc. That was not working initially, but then I again downloaded that, and then it worked.
I've already installed this Minikube and that CubeADM installation. So I got some messages for Sahil that they are using CentOS. So they will try with the CentOS, that is fine. So you can try with CentOS into any operating system you can use. So yesterday I have provided, I have shared one link to download any kind of CentOS, Red Hat, Ubuntu. Download those images and try to installation with. If today you have tried with Ubuntu, why not you create another 2 VM, try with the CentOS. That can be also fine, because can you check Sahil from your end, because IM is good in.
For me also fine.
Okay, so please check your mic. Please check it, my guys. So someone try with RHL 8. It worked fine. Pranavi, excellent. So you can try to doing some R&D kind of things installation part, and that is very useful because today is our second class. Again, you have couple of one weekend free times will be there. So please do a little R&D of installation part. So I have seen some getting some error the Minikube. So some guys are facing some installation issues. So just you, because I have said step by step whatever I did in my machine, you can follow those steps. That should work. So the one thing, please make sure if you want to install Minikube, while you install .exe file, by default, if you not select the destination path, right, it will be stored under C drive / program files under administrator under that location. So you should select the path with your current logging user and create one folder and just click on next. So that should work. Then you can go to switch to that the directory, and you can do whatever you want to Minikube. Everything should work. And if you're planning to do kubectl, because after install the Minikube, if you want to interact with the cube cluster, so you should install that kubectl command. So there are two ways. Either you can use call command to download. So if you do not have call command, you download that exe file and put it the kubectl command in the same location where you have installed Minikube. So that should work. So sometime if is it not working, that because if you not install any packages on your machine, so manually you need to execute ./kubectl.exe file, then get node. So that should work everything. So these are the key note. You follow those things should work. So maximum guys are already installed the Minikube and CubeADM. That is good news. And so please try to do some R&D, some kind of, because see Kubernetes, which is called, a lot of bunch of tasks will be there. So you should also try to learn something from your end, do some kind of troubleshooting. So that will be helpful for your career. Okay. So let's begin today's class. I think everybody joined. So if you did good, then we will start. It's already 10:20. So let us start with today's session. Okay. So let us start today. So let me share my screen to all of you.
So one doubt I have.
Okay.
Yesterday we created the bridge network, right? Like DSCP. So suppose something went wrong, so it's reboot. So the IP will be changed, right? So again we need to check the which IP this machine gets, and again we need to change in etc host.
That is what I told you, Sahil. Use the bridge network, bridge adapter IP. You're not going to use bridge adapter IP, which is required to download certain files. That is what we have assigned the static IP, the host only adapter. So you have to use host only adapter while connect to your VM. So do not use the bridge IP address while connect to your VM. Okay. And even when you try to install QADM cluster, you should use the host only adapter IP address. That I have already shared you all the steps. Please go through that steps. Okay.
And one more thing, that you shared like on box site for the images, right? That is like full filled image, like everything is there in it. If we take the image like from other side, okay, so that in that also it will work, or we need to change something.
Everything work, so you don't need to change anything. And but industry they will configure as a internal registry. Okay, every company has Artifactory registry will be there, so they will pull those images from the internal registry. So if you're pulling some registry for on your internal registry, you have to setting, if you go to the Docker configuration file, you just need to be add one line insecure registry. So hopefully you have learned that one in the Docker session class. Okay, so if you want to pull images from different the location, if you want to pull, just go to etc config Docker config file and just add one line insecure registry, give the URL so that and restart the Docker service so that you can pull images from different site.
Hey, Santosh, one quick question. So you mentioned about that to have two adapters. So one should be the bridge and one is the host. That will be the static adapter. I mean, we will have the static IP. So if one interface will have both internet accessibility and a static IP address, would that work?
Both interface should be static IP you are talking?
No. So if I have only one interface with the static IP settings and it's public IP.
Yeah, that should work. So if you in that case,
should work, right?
Yeah, that should work. Okay, so thanks for clarifying all things. So let us move today's class. So so what we did yesterday, we have designed the cluster, and you have some good experience with logging to the cluster using kubectl command. To interact with your cluster, you have to use kubectl command. So if the kubectl command is not installed on your machine, you cannot connect to your cluster. If you want to connect your cluster, you should install kubectl wherever you want to connect. So if you are Mac machine, because if you are Mac operating system, if you Linux machine, Ubuntu machine, whatsoever, there are different ways to install kubectl. Follow those process. So that these are the questions will ask developer guys. Customer will say, hey, I am using on Windows machine and I want to connect to my Kubernetes cluster using CLI. Can you please help me? You should tell yes, obviously. Let me share my screen. So follow this process. So like this, you have to. These are the type of real-time scenario questions you will get. So and suppose the maximum US client will use Mac operating system. So they will ask, okay, I'm using Mac operating system. How can I connect to my cluster? So already I have show you that Mac operating system setup, Linux setup, Unix setup, everything is there. You just follow those guide exercise so that anyone can connect to my cluster with different. It's not like only Windows machine should connect to my cluster. So anybody can connect. So hopefully those things everybody clear. So today we will talk about the next today's class objective for today's class, guys. Full you need to the focus, as I told you yesterday, Kubernetes is the platform will provide you to deploy your application, and automatically it will bring off your application if it is down. So the main our target will be you should learn how to deploy the application in Kubernetes cluster. So slowly, just wait some time, you will understand each and every component, so that if anybody will hand over Kubernetes cluster or OpenShift cluster, you should familiar what to do, how to troubleshoot. If you are not able to log into cluster, what I have to do. If somebody asks question, hey, can I deploy application? So those things you need to be clear. So today our main focus will be we need to understand each and every the resource going to use in Kubernetes. So let me share my screen to you, all of you. So hopefully everyone able to see my screen. So now, suppose right now we have discussed the cluster setup. So if I need to be check whether I'm able to log into the cluster, so I have rebooted twice. So now if I anywhere I can directly log in, right? So yesterday we have discussed to installation part, and I have already explained you what is this command will use. So slowly you will understand the troubleshooting part. If node went down, the master went down, so those things will be the troubleshooting. Kubernetes class will be there. Let us try to understand what are the main resources is a part of the cluster. How do you start? Because you are the Kubernetes admin, you are not going to deploy the first Kubernetes admin task along with developer task also. So you have to learn both the admin skill along with developer skill. He support to customer and user, because our the responsibility for to make the application, right? There are various kind of troubleshooting will be there. We will see so what exactly we are going to discuss today. This concept in the Kubernetes resource, the part will be we have space, why it is required the namespace, those things we will see. And once we understand the namespace, then the application to deploy the application, so you need to create one before, right? And also we will go through, guys, each and everything taking backup and restore the Kubernetes resource. And you can also use deploying application using deployment. We will see a lot of troubleshooting part. We will also see a lot of troubleshooting the cluster, right? So today we will focus about the Kubernetes concept. We will see all the guys who is not speaking. Can you please mute from your end? Shiva, can you please mute everyone if nobody is talking? We're getting a lot of sound from. Okay, so let us try to understand the technical things. So somebody will hand over Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes cluster is there. So what is the next step? So I don't know how to start, where to start. So how do I learn, right? So the first part, you have to be clear the picture that is called the Kubernetes namespace will be there. So that means I have deployed design one of the cluster. Now, for example, I have 10 worker node is there, and this is my POC environment. So let us say you need to introduce as your Kubernetes cluster. You have to give a demo to the customer. You will say, hey, I am from a Kubernetes team. I will help you to you containerize your application, and your application can fit to my Kubernetes cluster. And if you deploy your application to in my Kubernetes cluster, and these are the features are available. So I will monitor your project, make sure your application will open running 24/7, and make sure your application will be the load balancer. And even if application went down, you don't need to worry, automatically Kubernetes will be taking care about. So those things you have to give high level demo to customer and bring the customer to your cluster, right? Do you think each customer need to be create one cluster? No, right? So I have one cluster, but multiple team, multiple project member can be access to my cluster, right? So that is nothing but guys namespace. So how do you isolate your cluster to end user? Suppose they'll say, hey, I'm trying to deploy one Apache web server on Kubernetes cluster. So where I should go and deploy? There are multiple team members there, right? So for each team, I need to create one namespace and hand over to the customer so that they can log into customer namespace and they will start deploying application, right? So those things will be there. So that is you just initially you need to start with the namespace. So what is namespace? So if I just wanted to learn the namespace, so you can see over here, this is my the cluster. In my cluster, I created two namespace. One is called namespace 1, and another I created namespace 2. So namespace, you can say this is the one of the project. That means I can give access who can access to my namespace so that they can log into my cluster, so that they will get into the namespace, and inside the namespace they can deploy the application. They can deploy the application. Later we will see how to deploy all things, right? So, and same thing by default Kubernetes. Let me create one of the paint over here. So if I just wanted to give how the namespace, so first I will just create, I'll say this is the namespace, and let me create. This is my one of the namespace. So I'll say I'll tell that I'll say this is the namespace. So what is the namespace of n cluster? I'll say this is my default namespace. That means by default, when you install a cluster, Kubernetes will create there are some couple of namespaces created. So if you just wanted to verify in your cluster, you can see there are in your cluster there are some different namespaces are available. So the namespace which is called default is one namespace, kube node release one namespace, kube public is also one namespace, and kube system also namespace. So that means this is our namespace. So what is the use of namespace? That means inside the namespace, I can hosting my application. That means this is one of the isolation, right? So nobody can enter to my project. So who has access, they can entering to my project and they can deploy the application. So in that case, what I need to do, I will give the access also. That means I have to give access. So access, maybe I'll say, okay, I can give admin access, I can give edit access, and I can give view access. So this is access part. So don't worry with the permission part. There is some special chapter will be there, permission. So first, what I need to do, I have one namespace so that XYZ person can access to my namespace. So I have to give the permission. But by default, Kubernetes creating so many namespace. Why Kubernetes creating so many namespace? Because when you install a cluster, Kubernetes use there are some master components are available like API server, etcd, DNS, kube proxy, kubelet. There are so many resources are available. So those applications in cluster, it's deployed one of the project. So that the project name is called here. The project name is called Kube System Project. So what is the use of Kube System Project? This is the default project where all the important the master components are part of a Kube System Project. Why he cannot deploy those application under default project? Because if those applications, because those are the important application, if accidentally some customer deleted those port, then your cluster will went down, right? So that is one. Instead of giving access to instead of deploying the application under default project, he created another namespace. Inside that particular namespace, he deployed some of the important application that is called the DNS or API server, etc. those things. And that project only Kubernetes, that means admin guys, that means cluster admin only can access to this project because these are the important project, right? So the next project name is called Kube-public namespace. So this particular namespace, so the Kubernetes will install some of the objectives so that if I deploy any application under Kube-public, so all customer, that means everybody can access to this project with read-only permission, right? That means they cannot deploy anything. So this project which is required when you installing a monitoring part, you want to install a Kubernetes monitoring. So monitoring is nothing but need to be collect the information for all the project. Need to be collect information of your node. So that is what Kube-public will use to deploy some of the important Kubernetes application, so that this can be accessible from everyone with read-only the permission. And there is one project name called KubeNet. You can say project or namespace, both are same. So the KubeNet, KubeNet release, this is the one of the namespace which will be used for to check your health check of your cluster. That means to check health check of your node. It will check whether my node is how the utilization, right? So that will be this project. This namespace will giving the report, the node status, and will be informed to API server, and API server will store those information under your etcd database. So this is all about your namespace. So that means if anybody want to deploy the application in Kubernetes cluster, I need to create a namespace, give a permission, then I can give a quota to the project, right? So how much CPU they can access, they can give a CPU, they can use memory, all things, right? So if I not give any the resource to the project, that means the customer can deploy the n number of applications they can use my entire the cluster users, right? Because you have to inform to customer, okay, how many applications you want to deploy, how much CPU memory do you need. Accordingly, you need to onboarding customer project to your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so why do you need this? Suppose I have a Kube system project, and that is fair enough. I have a default project. So if you do not want to onboarding any customer, or if you think, okay, this is my learning environment, I don't want to create any new projects, but I want to deploy. So that is case, guys. Kubernetes will provide you empty project, that is a default project. That is empty project, does not have any information. Anybody can go and deploy the application under default project, right? But if you think, hey, this is my cluster, I want to use, I want to use as a dev cluster. Suppose I have okay, so for example, I just want to create a separate namespace. Suppose I have the customer call, this is called dev project. So I'll say, this is my dev scenario. I'll create one dev project. So same thing, I can go and create one more project. So I'll say this project is for production. Okay, and I'll create the same. So dev prod will be there. So next I will the next I'll say, hey, and I will give a permission to some of the guys. Permission to I'll give the dev project. So I'll say, whenever you want to any kind of testing, then you can go to this project, deploy your application. Right. Once dev application is done, then you can move to production project, go and deploy your application. That means these are the guys. These are the isolation. Right. So you have the different isolation projects are there. So if you deploy anything under dev, that will not impact to your production project. So if you even if you delete anything dev, that will not impact to production. So that means in your cluster, if you want to onboarding a customer project to in Open Kubernetes cluster, you need to create a namespace. So that is what all about the namespace. So if you see over here the namespace definition, so you can see the Kubernetes cluster, the n number of customer application, n number of project, n number of project team you can onboarding with help of the namespace. For example, one project name called HR project, some project name called, some customer will say, I want to do some POC. So yes, don't worry, I will create one dedicated namespace to you. So like this, we need to create the project. So that is what, as I already discussed you, the by default namespace in the Kubernetes cluster will create some of the namespace. So which I have already explained you, what are these three projects will use. And so if you want to see the how many namespaces are available on your cluster, you can use a command called kubectl get ns command, right? And so suppose if you want to check how many applications running under the kube system project, you can use kubectl get pod -n system. So same thing, this is the pane. Suppose somebody asks question, I want to check under default project how many applications running under default project. Then which commands I have to use? I'll just run a command called kubectl get pod because you are in, whenever you log into your cluster, you are in the default project. So if I execute this command, this will list of default project. But I am in the cluster. I want to check how many the application running under dev project. Then I can use the command called kubectl or get pod. I can use -n the project name. So this command will give you how many projects are. It will list you how many the application running under the dev project, right? Similarly, if you want to check, I want to list how many applications running on the pro project. So same, just replace with kubectl get pod. Instead of -n, I can also using namespace. Namespace, I can, what is my namespace? Prod. So this command will list you how many applications running under the project, right? So this is all about your the namespace. Yes, so time to ask question if you have any doubt for the namespace.
Concept, it only exists from what you're explaining. I'm just understanding this will all be controlled at the master level, but as you go on putting your nodes, like you have node 1, node 2, node 3, the namespace would get extended accordingly, correct?
Yes.
Okay, right, thank you.
So you can create different namespace for different customer, and when you increase your namespace, so if the resource is not available in your cluster, then you need to add one more worker node to your cluster. So initially, when we design our the cluster installation, we started with the POC environment, one master with 3 worker node, right? So slowly, if the customer will come to more, then you have to create one more VM, add that VM to the cluster. So this is all the life cycle. Whenever your cluster is, you can see utilization is high, then if you think there is no space is available, then you have to add one more node to existing cluster.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Santosh, like we switch to the project in OpenShift, right? Like OC project and the project name. How to switch to the project here in Kubernetes?
Sure, I will tell you. Don't worry. So same thing, if those are working with Kubernetes, I mean OpenShift cluster, and you can suppose right now I am in under default project, so I just want to switching to another project. Okay, so there is a command called kubectl set context config command will be there, which will help you to switching the project. Okay, so I just, for example, right now when I run kubectl get command, I can able to view only the default project. If I want to check how many applications running under their project, then I can run this command. But I don't want to. I just want to switch to project. Then I just need to be run a command called kubectl. I just use a config command. There is a command called config command, or you can use set-config. Okay, set-context will be there. For example, context. Then you can use which namespace you want to move. For example, I just want to switch to their project. So this command is a replacement because in OpenShift environment, you just need to run a command called OC project name called that. You just directly switching to the OpenShift project. But in Kubernetes, you have to use a command called kubectl config set-context. So we will see that, guys. We will see that the demo for namespace, how to create n number of namespace, how to assign the quota, those things we will see. But today is a basic Kubernetes namespace, so we just need to be dealing with only creation of namespace. Okay, later stage how to assign, how to give a permission to user, n number of permission can access to my project, and how to assign the quota, resource, all things. So usually in the industry, whenever you want to onboard one application, so what are the questions you have to keep in your mind? First, suppose there is a customer called Tesco, so he want to use my Kubernetes K8s cluster. So what I'll do first, I will start schedule a meeting with the customer. I will ask some couple of questions. So I need to understand what kind of application they are planning to deploy my cluster, and also I need to discuss with customer, hey, how much compute you're planning to use. So how much compute? What is your compute planning? So accordingly, I will check my cluster size. If it is available, I'll say yes, I can onboarding your project. So then I will ask, okay, so what is so the customer will say, okay, now how can I log into your cluster? Will you able to give a compute? I'll say yes. I will create one dedicated the dedicated namespace for you. Let's, for example, Tesco. I'll create one Tesco POC, the namespace. So I'll create Tesco names POC project. I'll create. Then customer will say, okay, will I able to access those processes, because in my team there are many members are there. So can you give some individual permission, because give me admin permission to me, then it will come to guys access part. The access will be it may be admin permission, or it may be edit privileges or view privileges. So I should give the permission. That means this is the permission I can give. So next I can say, okay.
Santosh, sorry to interrupt you here. So when we say project or namespace, what do we actually, define to do by creating namespaces and or a project? Like, do we, run a specific application or as a whole cloud service?
Okay, so it depend the customer, because when you are in the Kubernetes cluster admin, you can onboard multiple team to your multiple team application can use your cluster. So it's depend what kind of application they are deploying. You doesn't matter, because Kubernetes will support any kind of application that deploy, but you just need to give a namespace. So how they will deploy, I will show you the demo. Don't worry. Now you need to just focus creating a namespace. Why do you need to create a namespace? Because initially you have to give a space, you have to give a room to them. They will enter your cluster, which room they should go, and they will deploy that particular room. So you will say that, hey, when you enter your cluster, this person only can do this task, this person only do that task, right? So you have to give it the permission kind of things. So the next thing is, whenever a customer entering to my
Just to confirm, so this is just to give permission to a specific project, which allows you to access the application.
allow you to access to the project to deploy the application and modifying the application whatever they want to do. Only the admin guys can do everything. He can deploy, he can delete, he can do whatever. Edit privileges can deploy, but he can't delete. The view permission only for the person has the view. They can do only the monitoring, because even the customer and also they need to monitoring customer application, because we are not going to monitoring as a Kubernetes admin, not going to monitoring customer application. We will give everything infrastructure. We are the infrastructure admin. But if at all any issues they will get, they will come to our Kubernetes team. Okay. So, but later on permissions, I am not dealing with right now permission part, because the permission there are a lot of things will be there. RBAC permission will be there. We will discuss very detailedly. Now we need to focus only the namespace today. Okay. So the next we'll say, okay, I can enter your room. So how much CPU memory I can get? So I will try to discuss with the customer. So based on my customer requirement, I will set a quota to my project. Those things will be you will get for onboarding time. So onboarding time, you need to create one namespace, then give a permission, then give a resource quota. So if you not apply the quota, what will happen? They can use entire cluster, right? Because based on the users, they have to pay. Then you can ask the charging for the customer. The customer will say, hey, I'm using only one core. Why you are charging entire? So based on the customer uses, you need to charge. So don't worry, the quota, what one core, all things. So there is a special chapter will be there. In this chapter, we are dealing with only the namespace. Okay. So inside the namespace, what they can do, they can deploy the application. They will create a container. They will create instance. So if they will create a container, right? So how they will create a container? Using Docker image. When you create a container in OpenShift, that you can say port. Okay. We will go through the details port. So we will see later. And they can also deploy the application through deployment also. So they will get a full-fledged deployment will be there, and the next will be there, guys. Replica will be there. So right now, you don't worry about those users, because our curriculum will have details to discuss. But now let us start with the namespace. So let us give a little demo with the namespace. That means how do you deal with the namespace part? Now, the first thing in my Kubernetes cluster, I told you by default there are default namespace are there. So I can just run. Have you noticed one thing? Yet nothing is working, right? Is it working? tab is not working. So always you have to type the command. Yes or no?
Yeah, tab is not working.
Yeah. So
That's not good because in OpenShift the tab helps us a lot.
Yeah, and again, in Kubernetes, it seems like the commands are, I mean, lengthy. So we need to type a lot. So we should have something, to tab it to get that command completes.
yeah, obviously. So let me see how the tab
Santosh,
will work.
Santosh, sorry, one very quick question. Sorry, I am interrupting you. Uh, the Weave network, it is only applied at the master node, isn't it? It should not be applied in the worker node.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And the folders what you create with the ownership is only done at the master node, not at the worker node, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
So let me reboot my server. Okay. Okay. So let us say if you want to some of the namespace important commands are there. So if you want to list all that namespace, so which commands you need to use it? I want to list all namespace in my project, in my cluster. So the command will be, you have to dealing with all kubectl get ns, or you can use one more command you can use. So kubectl get namespace. So this command usually which will use to list all the namespace, list all namespace in your cluster, right? Suppose how do I create a new namespace? I want to create a new namespace. New namespace I want to create, or I can say new project, or I can say new namespace. Anything could be fine. So how do I create? It's very simple command. I can use kubectl. I can use create, or I can use ns, or you can go for namespace, doesn't matter. So let me create name ns, and I want to create the namespace called the dev, right? So after you create namespace, you can use kubectl get ns dev. So you can see that the namespace is created or not. These are the commands, usually these commands you are going to use dealing with. Same thing, can I able to create one more namespace? Obviously you can create. So I can create kubectl create same thing ns prod, right? Those things you can use.
Can you create a namespace within a namespace? You can't.
You can.
No, you can't.
Yes,
Okay.
you can.
No.
Yeah. So inside one namespace, so you can't create another namespace inside one more namespace. Okay. You can inside the namespace you can create multiple applications you can deploy. Okay. So please try to make a. There is one command you just need to install called, if you want to use the base terminal, please install this command on your laptop. The base, that because the tab is not working in my cluster, so you should use this. Let me show you. So you can use this command for just install this command yum apt get install base completion of yours. This will it will work all the tab, or you can run this command. These two command you quickly can you run on your machine and verify whether the tab is working fine or not. So, and also you can also run same command. So after that you can verify whether all the tab will work, because this is required in your exam. So you need to install this package, or else you cannot clear your exam. because you cannot remember all the commands behavior. So always you should use the tab to complete. So can you please try and confirm whether it is working fine or not? Meanwhile, I will try in my machine.
Can you put the second command? I think only one you have pasted the first one only.
I have pasted both the commands.
Both, is it?
Yeah. Well, try both the command. Okay, sorry, I think yes, both the commands I have pasted. Please try that one. So how many of you install Kubernetes? Everybody install. Hopefully, whatever I'm going to do practice in along with you have to execute the commands in your machine itself. So that is what yesterday full day I spent for installation part. So how many of you did? If you're not doing, please start Minikube installation also, because Minikube will take only 5 minutes. You should have a machine to do practice.
Yeah, Santosh, I just exporting it, right?
Okay.
But still, it's not completing when I'm doing the tab.
Source based RC, or you can just work.
Yes, Santosh, I'm getting a error which get locked.
Okay, it could not get locked in the sense you have one command is running in the backend or some of the Ubuntu OPEC to complete.
Okay. Okay. Right.
So everybody have tried that syntax. Should work.
For me, it's still not working.
So you cannot
Santosh.
troubleshoot.
I'm just checking, like tried both the export and
You did the same
trying
command in
best.
OpenShift as well. Remember or not?
Yeah, just checking.
Please share that command again, Santosh.
Not working?
It says that front end lock resources not available. So I don't know why.
Can you reboot? How can you reboot your machine and try?
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay, now it's working. Like
Yes.
I just
I told
logged
you,
out and logged in back.
Run
Something
best
weird
command,
was happening.
What?
It wasn't working.
Okay,
So I had to log out and log in back.
login also fine. So in your exam, you should use that command after you installing again. That should work. Let me try in my machine. But okay, I have lost. So okay, so let's dealing with so if you're filling this Kubernetes, I mean Ubuntu is taking too much time. If you do not have compute fast or like a little slow, you can also try with CentOS machine. CentOS. So next time I will remove this VM. I will just try with the CentOS. Whatever step I'm going to do in my machine, I can save those steps to you. So same step you can try with your end if you feel any difficult. So now you can see over here the get node. I can see the get node. So sometimes if you feel if it is not working when I log in first time get node, I got the error over here. So that error I got. So what you need to do? Just you need run source command, or you can just do export command to config, because this is the temporary, guys. These are the temporary. That means whenever the permanent option will be that that mkdir that command. But if you are in the root user, just make a run this command export. So I just run it again. So what
you can put it into the bash
yes.
file, isn't
yeah.
it?
Told you that
Okay.
just need to try with the base completion syntax. So run this command. Is it already installed? Okay. It's already the black here. I'll try with the base. Or after the base, I can use. So now if I hit, sorry, I run the base command mistakenly. So now if I run kubectl get is working, guys, now. So now my base completion is working. So just click node. So I can use it. Node is working fine. Or I can I'll just put it here. It is the base RC file.
So you don't do this on the node. You just do it on the master.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the export. Okay.
I can do and the profile files wherever I can do that command. So now if I just get hit tab, there are too many options. You can click namespace. All substance working. Just click and press and make a tab. is need to be installed that particular command, the best complete from your control and relogging, so everything should work fine. So this is one useful the syntax you will now right now we will dealing with namespace creation. So from your machine itself, so I can just command I run get space. So if I want to check how many namespaces are available, because since here I can, so WC hyphen when I do over here this no headers. So I can see here exactly in my cluster. So I told you that each containers are running. So if you want to list, I want to list the container of this project. So I already have, suppose if I execute the command called kubectl get the current project, but it not list public whatsoever. Suppose I want to, same thing I told kubectl get code hyphen and depth. So same thing, I'll just run an n, just n for the namespace. I'll run the namespace command over here. Hit enter. So now you can see some applications. There are too many applications running in the Kubernetes cluster. Will create one project called kube system project, which will hosting a Kubernetes cluster, which is called DNS, ETC. We have also enabled VPNet. Everything is enabled in my cluster. Project only can access. Who can access this project? Only because by default nobody will give access to this project. Even by default Kubernetes, if by mistake someone deleted something or modify my any Kubernetes admin team. Okay.
10s. See what namespaces are coming there. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
no release public. Yeah.
So
all right. Thank you.
This command, first it will say name. What is the state? Active. That means currently running. The two states will be there. Active and terminating will be there. So sometime you will say active, or sometime you will say terminate. Whenever you delete a namespace, the status will say terminate. So it will just take some time to delete a namespace. So two terminate. So how long this project is active? You can say 19 hours. So because we have started installation status of namespace. Suppose if someone asks question, okay, can you tell me how many, what are the, can you give me some little details about this project, when this project is created, or what time, all things. If you want to say little details about your project, just use the describe. You can use the NS, the project name. It will give you little describe about. So I told you, whenever you create a namespace, you should give quota. That is what you can see over here. There is no quota applied. That means there is no resource. So this is blank project, right? So later on we will see how to assign the resource quota, limit, range, all things, right? So these are the commands. It's very important commands. And let me try to create the new namespace. I'll just use create ns. The namespace I can give the namespace for dev. I'll just create a dev over here. The same thing after creating the namespace, if I want to verify the namespace, I can run kubectl get ns command. This command will give you that the list of the namespace whether the project is created, and the project is created last 6 seconds back the project is created, right? Fair enough. So the next, if you see the kubectl, if you want to do make a describe your namespace, so you can go for describe ns, the project name for that. Nothing is there, blank, just create it simply. So again, so some cases if you want to, like for example, if you want to edit, so some cases you want to edit, then you can use kubectl edit ns and project name. So this project will open a file. You can, whatever you want to fill, you want to change, you can go and change it, right? Or sometimes if you feel, I need to delete this project. So customers say, create a project name different. I have created some different project. So you can just, if you want to delete, just run delete ns name of project. So this will take some time to delete your namespace. So if you just check here, get ns command. Now you can see the namespace is already clean. The namespace is not, it's deleted, right? So whenever you delete a namespace, make sure if you want to take a backup, you can take the backup Justin, that is fine. Later we will see the backup on this. So what we discussed as of now, we just created one dev project, how to create a dev project, how to check information about the project, and how to delete the namespace. If you want to edit the namespace, just run it, edit the namespace. Right?
What would you edit in the namespace generally?
Generally, you can change the label name, or if you want to add some annotation to your project. Suppose if you have used some kind of Splunk, okay, and if you are using Splunk, so they'll ask you enable Splunk your namespace. Okay, that means you just need to be add one annotation. There is a command will be there, kubectl. Annotation will be one command, annotate. You can give your annotation to your namespace. So those things we will see later, not now. Okay. Right. So we will talk about those.
Sorry. Hello.
Advanced Kubernetes. Yes.
Can we edit resources also with namespace?
What does means resources?
Resources.
You're talking about quota?
Yeah, quota.
Those things you can do. Those things there is commands.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine.
Fine. So fair enough. What we discussed, hopefully everybody clear. So if I just try to do create a namespace instead of ns, I can use the namespace. Let me create a namespace called tesco-poc. So now if you see the kubectl get ns, I can find my namespace over here. I can see the project is created. So if you feel after creating your project, usually in industry how the project is created, you know, the first customer will say, okay, can you please create a project name called tesco-poc and give some kind of label to the project. So there are some label will be there. So label is nothing but to give more details about the project. I'll say, okay, can you give primary owner of this project? Primary owner will be some kind of thing, tesco_team. Okay, so I can just want to point of contact. Who is the point of contact? Because we cannot directly contact to primary owner. Give some kind of keyword will be there in each and every company have a own template will be there. So I'll say, okay, if any issues for this project, you can directly contact to support team, support_tesco, right? Or if do you have any contact number? Can I directly contact to anything if any major issue? So I'll update the contact details. So some number I will update it, right? So you can give those details to your project, right? How to give that one? I just created one of the namespace, but there is no name, no details. If I just do kubectl describe ns, the project name for Tesco, if I hit enter, I can see there is no information itself. So how can I give details? I just use kubectl, the label. What is the namespace? The namespace will Tesco. Everything tab is working fine, guys. Okay. So I can use okay. Let me give my primary or not. I can say I can give a hyphen. So say I can say, okay, please contact to Tesco products product guys. So if I try to a POC who is a point of contact, I'll say please contact to support_team. Okay, and if do you have any contact numbers? Yes, I'll fill some contact numbers. Right now, hit enter. So now if I use kubectl or describe ns, the project name called Tesco POC. So hit enter. So I can see here there are a lot of information. It's here on level, and the name will be label name this, contact number this, right? So these are just very important. Suppose if you want to modify, suppose hey POC name is different, then what I'll do? I'll just do here kubectl the label same namespace. I can go for Tesco POC. I'll say the primary contact is owner is wrong, so I can, or POC is wrong. I'll say POC. So please contact to the mail ID. I can just put here xyz_com. Yeah, so but when I hit enter, you will see that POC is already there. But if you want to overwrite, just use --, overwrite. Now if you run describe command, you can see the value is changed. This value can be used this command. If somebody asks you question, okay, what is the use of edit command? How can I change? So you can go for kubectl edit ns name is Tesco. So I can go to over here, and whatever value you want to change, you can go and change. For example, I just wanted to change this value. Whatever you want to change, just save this file. So everybody clear what is the use of edit command? OC edit ns, you can do that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So same thing, if you somebody will say, okay, how can I take backup of this namespace? I just want to take backup of this object. So backup is means it will just take a backup of your project, but it will not take the backup of inside the project, how many applications, what details are there. That is a different commands you need to run. So for example, I just use kubectl get ns. The project I just use Tesco POC. So hit enter. This command will help you leave the project name. But if I want to take the YAML file -o output, take YAML file will be YAML output. So just hit enter. To list all the names, the YAML output, I can store over here, redirecting Tesco -POC project backup. So anytime I can, if anything happens, right, I can restore. Now currently I have taken this file, the output of the namespace file, this project will be. So anytime by mistakenly someone get deleted, for example, somebody like delete the ns, you just mentioned Tesco. So you can delete -f force gracefully. Don't wait and forcefully delete. I forcefully deleted the project.
So these files are saved as YAML files, and then
saved in the YAML file.
Okay.
So now you can see I have deleted the project, but if I can see now the namespace is not available right now. So if you feel I have taken backup, is it possible to restore? So yes, you can restore. How to restore? Just run a command kubectl create -h, the file name for Tesco. Now you can see in your machine you have a namespace is already created. Again, the namespace is executed. Right. So what we discuss as of right now, how do you manage a namespace? Right. So the namespace is the project give a name. So the namespace will not allow you to use a capital letter. There will be no dollar symbol. Right. Special characters not will allow. So only the small letter, but you can give a number digit, that is fine. Any special character you can't use. You can't use a project name with capital letter, right? That will not work. So the first you learn creating a project. So whenever you want to managing your project, that means you should learn first how to create, how to modify your project, and how to delete your project, and how to take the backup of your project, and how to restore your project.
Can you just show that where you actually copied that YAML file, just that command?
Okay.
In your history. Yeah.
You can just use this command kubectl get the namespace, the project name called Tesco, and give -o YAML, give the file path.
Okay.
You can reuse this command. If you want JSON output, that's fair enough. You can go for JSON as well. It will show you that output with the JSON. So you can use JSON output. So if you read that output, the JSON file output, you can see here JSON format. Anything could be fine. You can run this command YAML, or if you feel there's JSON, you can use this.
And then to rewrite it, you put or
restore, you can use just create -f that.
Okay. And the name of the backup file, yeah.
Name of the backup file.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Santosh, one last thing in the namespace. I think these are the good command that we learned today. Like you said, right, to switching to a particular project, we need to use kubectl config set minus context.
Okay, yeah, that I got.
So I was basically trying this in my cluster. I mean, it says context is created, but like when I try to see ports under it, I'm not able to see it.
Okay, so whenever anything you're filling some kind of difficult commands or not, why not you trying over here? Suppose I say command called kubectl, just run config command. Okay. So hit enter. You will see here kubectl chat sheet will be there. Click on over here. So you can see the command say. See, look at here. How you have to use it. Right?
Wait, can you just show that part again?
The current is missing. I think. Let me try current in there.
I'll show you that one, guys. So let me summarize what I discussed, and hopefully everybody clear. So the first thing, this command is very simple. Once you get node, it lists the project. You can also run this command, and to create a new project, you can this command, you verify this command, or to create a different project, you can use this command. You can be also use the commands will be the namespace. Instead of here, I can write the namespace. Okay, this thing. What else we discussed? Or if you want to check the information about the project, you just what you need to do, command guy kubectl describe the ns project name called dev, right? So same thing, if you just want to edit namespace, so you just use kubectl edit ns and namespace project name, right? So to take backup of your project, the namespace manage I just mentioned, I just run kubectl get ns project name called dev, then -o YAML. You can just redirect to dev -YAML output. So same thing, or you can go for JSON. You can use kubectl get ns. The namespace called dev. I can take JSON output. I can just mention dev JSON output here. Right. So any case to restore your project, if delete to restore the project, I can go for kubectl the create definition create -f the file whichever YAML file you're comfortable, you run it from here. Right. So to assign or to provide more information to the project, more details to the namespace, you just need to use a command called kubectl. The command called label, so namespace, and the project name there. You can use any kind of keyword. These are the anything you can use, guys. Primary, honor, whatever honor you can use over here. Just XYZ whatsoever. Likewise, you can add multiple details, right? Those the details you can enter it. So if you want to add some contact number, you give some number over here, right? So same thing if you just wanted to verify what are the labels we have used. So I can use kubectl get ns, the project name dev -hyphen show labels, right? So I think I did not use this command. So let me see here. If I use get ns, project name will be Tesco POC -show label. You will see the what are the labels we have used. You can use this command for to list of labels. Right? Or else you can also use the kubectl describe ns project name tag. This can be also fine. These are the things I have discussed, and also I have discussed one more command called to list to count how many projects are available. So manager will ask, hey, can you check how many projects available in that dev cluster? So just you get ns wc-l. You just no header, so that it will not count the header one. This is the number of projects. So if you want to count a project, use this command. From the namespace, you can just command. So anything I have missed, let me see, ns the project name, Tesco, hyphen export, the one option is there, but here that option will not work in Kubernetes.
What are you trying to export the namespace to another namespace or something like that?
It's kind of like backup itself, but that options may not be working in Kubernetes. That options will be only for OpenShift. That's fine. So this is what I have discussed. Please, I'll give you 5 to 10 minutes. So please do this kind of lab in your machines. So fair enough. That the next things we will talk about. If you just want to switch your project, how do you switch your project? You can run a command called kubectl, command called config, set context, What is the namespace you want to change? You can use a namespace. Let me, I want to move to my desktop POC project. Okay, I'll use the desktop POC, hit enter. So when I say hit enter, you're getting some message, hey, please give hyphen current option, right? Use option called hyphen current option. So it will say currently you are into that project. So now if you see currently which project I am now, you can use config get context. So the get context command will tell you currently you are into which project, right? I am in Tesco POC project.
Can you coexist in two projects simultaneously? No.
No, you can't. Okay.
You can't. Okay.
Yeah. So same thing. You have a 2 room at a time. Can you jump to 2 rooms? You know, right? First you have to go to room number 1, and if you want to go to room number 2, you will get out from the room number 1 and get into number 2.
Okay.
So same way in OpenShift as well. So these are the one room. So if you want to switch to one room to one room, you run this command. Suppose if you want to say, okay, in this particular room, how many contents are available? So you can list the content. It may be, suppose in one room you have so many items are available, right? If you want at a time, you can list everything, or you want to check one by one, can be verify that as well. Okay. So any questions related to the namespace? So let me, this command, which is usually is command used for switching a project in Kubernetes.
Can we take this namespace as an it's a kind of a small server space given to the customer to host their application?
Exactly. So we will see now to switch a project to switch a namespace. Yeah, go ahead, guys.
Yeah. So while restoring, can we use a different name for the namespace? Like if we already have a backup, we just want to copy. Can we do that?
The restore, if you want to do that way, then you have to go and edit that file and restore it with a different name. Okay.
How to make it permanently?
How to make a permanently? What does means how to make a permanently?
Like when I try to log in for next time, I have to be same project.
Oh, so you want to be the same project? Might be you have to.
When I re-log in or when I shut down the machine, maybe it's in practical session my laptop. It's not like in organization. Organization never shut down, but I'm asking about my personal laptop. Then it like
that some options should be there. Just look at that options. Any options will be there. Hyphen permanent or hyphen. Current will be there. Okay, so current only. So currently, you see the example is what currently whichever project you are in when you execute this command current right. Even after log out your machine, if you re-log in, you will be into that same project itself. Okay.
okay.
But if you want to change permanently one project, I need to check that options. No, that options may not help you. Okay. Right now, if you just wanted to see the config view, if you hit enter, you will see that config view command also will tell you currently you are on which project. When you are in current project will be this. And also, if somebody asks a question, hey, which cluster you have logged in? Are you logged in production or dev cluster? So you can just config command you can run. You will find out also the names, the URL of your cluster. Okay, and also you are finding the name of username. Right. So Kubernetes admin user which I have logged in currently. Right. So these are some important things and day-to-day commands which you are going to use. So believe me, because when whoever working the Kubernetes, make sure whenever you want to do troubleshoot customer project, you need to run this command where I am. If you are in some other project and deleting something, then it will be crashed. Then you will get a notification who deleted, why you deleted, so many things you will give answer for that. So be careful while working with the Kubernetes project. Whatever you are going to do, you should do into that project.
Santosh, actually, when I had rebooted my nodes, the master and the worker node, when I say get nodes, kubectl get node, I can only see the master. I don't see the other node. Is it because of some?
Are you're not, the node is added or not added to your cluster?
Added in the sense, do you actually add it again?
No, that should work. You have added already, right?
Yes, in the earlier steps, yes, they were added.
Okay.
It was working, but then when you asked to reboot to install the bash files,
it's not coming up again.
No, it's coming up, but then when I say kubectl get nodes, it doesn't show me the worker node. It just shows me the master node.
Okay.
For the secondary IP, is it a static IP or a manual IP?
No, it is it is a permanent IP. So just thinking why. Okay.
Just check the the kubelet service is running first, whether the kubelet service is running
on the worker node.
Yep.
Okay,
how do you check it? Like, is there a way?
Systemctl status kubelet dot service.
Okay.
Okay, so Don't miss any kind of steps. If you miss those steps after reboot, it will not come up, because I have rebooted twice. I have rebooted 100 times. It's coming up. Some steps might be you have missed. So let we will have to identify the first. So later in class, I'll sit with you, and in case I can log into MSN into that section. Okay, so fair enough, guys. So whatever we have discussed as of now, do you have any questions? So this is the straight commands. It's very simple. I just post those commands in the chat box for your reference. And end of your class, we will also get the mail. Hopefully, you have received mail from Shiva yesterday to get all the documentation. Follow those processes whoever not installed.
Sir, one thing I want to know. In this, YAML, we are taking the backup in YAML or JSON format, right? So exactly in which format it's writing? It's writing in YAML or JSON format?
By default, Kubernetes support two type of you can go for YAML format or you can go for JSON format. By default will be YAML. Okay. So even if you just when I run kubectl, edit edit namespace of namespace project, you can see this output is nothing but YAML output. Okay, the default will YAML. But if you want to edit this as a JSON, you can also do. So if you are good in JSON, you can work with all JSON output as well.
So automatically convert in JSON format when I give -o JSON.
Exactly.
And one more is we use that kubectl node kubectl NF for kube system default created by Kubernetes.
Yes.
So in this, if we check it out, in this 4-5 components is coming out, like etcld. So you said like this is only for the Kubernetes administrator will get the access for this, right?
Yes.
So if we want to open it or if we want to check it, what exactly means things is there, so we can check.
What exactly? What you want to check?
Means whatever it's showing, like the projects it's showing. So if I suppose we want to go to inside in it, in this project, and whatever the configuration is there, we can check it.
Yeah, you can check it. No, you can check it. That I will tell you now. Okay. So all of you, it's already 11:45 now. So I told you I don't need any kind of break in between. But if you guys need, feel free to post lunch break. So let me see. 15 minutes break will be the. We will get back again 12 o'clock. Is that fine? Or do you need more break? Let me know.
No, I think I'm good with that, Santosh.
Yeah. So
Even 10 minutes is fine.
10 minutes should be okay. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So please, 10-15 minutes. Everyone, how many of you did those commands hit in your machine?
Yeah, I did everything.
Yeah. So who did? Everybody is going to do it or nobody? So whatever that namespace, that means this in the namespace you will only get this kind of command. You will not get any other commands anywhere. Okay. Whatever commands there and whatever commands I am using currently in my office, I said all the commands to you. So these are the commands dedicatedly used for your industry commands. And in this chapter, you will get only one question in your Kubernetes exam. They will ask you to create a project name is called this. They'll ask one simple question. Hopefully, you can finish that in without. You cannot take any 1 second. I tell. Less than 1 second, you can do that question. Okay. There will be one question. They will ask you to create a namespace with this chapter. You will get a question. This question will fix question, will not change anything. They'll ask you to create a project called CKA-Day. right? Same command you will run kubectl create ns and full. So while I was writing exam, I'll give all the tips. You don't type anything. You just need to copy and you have to do paste. Don't type. If you just type, sometime you will get a mistake. So any examination, even Red Hat exam, anything, you just make it type itself. Don't do anything your own you're writing. Okay, fine. So we will back another 10 to 15 minutes. We will cover you if you have any question, or else we will move to next chapter. Any
For me, it's all clear, Santosh. It is very nice that you have covered, I think, everything which is there in namespace.
Okay, thank you. So there is one thing I forget to share. So this is my box only, right, or the full box? Okay, this is
No, it's yours only.
okay. So as a industry, whenever you are planning to delete the namespace, so as Sahil asked one question, inside the namespace, I list all the resource, what are the resources are available inside the project, so that I will give the answer for that one. And before that, so at the industry, whenever you're planning to delete a namespace, because in my working environment, the learning environment does not have any resource. The project is deleted forcefully. Sometimes you can run delete, because while doing decommission the project, I just use the namespace and the namespace name the test code, and you can also use a command called -f force and gracefully equal to 0. So this command will be forcefully removing a project. It will just removing it forcefully. Okay, and sometime even if you run this command, the project still it's showing terminating state only. So status will be still it's showing terminating, even though if you run grace period equal to 0, because inside the project there are lot of the resources are available. So whenever you want to decommission, you need to clean your project first, all the resource, and once resource is clean, then you need to delete the project. So sometimes some of the colleague without deleting all the resources. Resource means what? Inside the project you deploy, code will be there, deployment will be there, replica set will be there, service will be there, ingress will be there, a lot of things will be there, the customer. So you have to clean everything, then you can delete the project. But some cases you directly delete without any content. So if you just do kubectl edit ns, and there is called tesco-poc the project. If you see here, there is an option called finalize Kubernetes. So this option will be there, right? So here you have to delete that line. So if you delete that line, automatically it will delete your project. So in here, if we in the status, it will show. So sometimes it will show status. Terminating stage will be there. Status will be terminating. So in a terminate will be there. If these options will be there, so that your then you just clean this, delete this folder, delete this file again. Right? This is one option. Sometime you will face in industry that project will not deleting because of this finalizer. So just clean that folder, clean that line, delete that line, and save this file, so that you will see automatically the project will delete on next step.
Yeah, and Santosh, I basically faced this issue. There were like in OpenShift, right? Like some people they decommissioned and they were no longer using their project. So I thought, okay, let's just go ahead and delete the project. There were like some services were running, some pods were running on it. So it went into a terminate state. So I had to follow this to to get rid of.
Yeah. So follow this one. This will helpful because this is the troubleshooting of your the namespace troubleshooting. So whichever topic, whichever I am discussed, guys, those I will add some commands which I am regularly I'm using. So those things you will use it in your office. So these options can be used any resource. If you want to delete a project, delete a port, forcefully, gracefully, use these options. Okay.
Santosh, can you please add this both the commands in that notebook? Will you making second one also? And one more thing, like we took backup and all. So in this machine, Shell and Python both will work, right? Python will work, I know. I have doubt with the Shell. Shell will work.
What is shell?
Scripting, sir.
No.
So shell script will not work.
Shell, where you want to execute shell script? I did not get your question.
Like means somebody else mentioned in the chat only for backup and all.
Oh, okay. That Progny, right? Okay. Yeah. So that one will be if you want to take backup. The questions is they ask, is there a need to take the backup manually every day or instead of taking things? Yes, you can take the backup. There will be Kubernetes. There is a cron job application is running. So you can run that application. You need to be configured so that you just inform if you want to take the backup. But usually we are taking backup cron job we have set up in our cluster. We're taking a backup of our etcd. Because if etcd backup is there, then everything you can restore. So usually you can take backup of etcd, but customer they have a configure own setup cron job so that they will configure the cron job inside the customer project, and those data they will put it in the persistent storage that is called PVPVC, right? So those we will see later, not now.
So means in cluster shell script will not work, right?
Shell script in the cron job you can put it that script that should work. You have to configure that one, that will work.
Means we can write it here and we can put it in.
Yeah, that script you can put. You just tell this script should execute on your machine.
Fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine. So let us start with our the next one. So so Sahil asked one question that inside a project, can I able to see all the resource? So all the resource. So how can I see all the resource? So I told you this command. This will list only one resource, that is name is called get only resource 4. But inside the project, what kind of resource which is available? What you can do inside the project? So I told you guys in the project, that means in the namespace, what you can do in the namespace? The namespace you can deploy the application. Deploy the application. How do you deploy the application? Deploy application using a single container. The single container can be do direct one pod. That you can say pod, and pod is nothing but in Kubernetes you can call in Docker you can say this is my container, but in Kubernetes they will say the pod. So pod is nothing but container you can say, right? So there are some different other methods to deploy the application. One is called deployment config will be there. Deployment config, and also there is one more called deployment, only called deployment, right? And if you configure deployment, then it will try to configure one controller. So that is called replication controller. So we will talk about very detailed guys. Do not worry. This will say replica set, right? So for this deployment config, the shortcut you can use for DC, and for replica control for shortcut you can use guys RC. Okay. So don't worry what is deployment config, all things. So we will discuss very detailed. So let us first discuss about the next chapter will be about the port. So as you asked one question, so how can I list everything? So you can see here the kubectl ns. So if I run kubectl get port-n, it will list only the port only. If you wanted to check the all, then you just need to remove the port and put it all. It will list all. It will say these are the ports, this is the service, this is my daemon set, this is my deployment, this is my replica set. Okay, don't worry what is the service, what is the daemon set, we are going to discuss it. First we will try to cover port. After completed port, then we will move to deployment, then we will move to replica set, then we will move to service, then we will different type of deployment, that is called daemon set, secret, everything, a lot of things will be there. So let me list out what are the resources are available in in Kubernetes. The first, the resource name is called the namespace, which we have discussed. Then after will be, you can pod will be there, hard will be there, replica set will be there. So, and fourth will be deployment. So right now, deployment config is not recommended way to deploy your application. So that's why I'm just making deployment. Inside the deployment, you can configure as a service. So assign one static IP to your application. And after service, you can configure some related security related things. You can apply the resource quota, can configure resource quota. So resource quota can be assigned based on your CPU and your memory. So the next will be, we will talk about the quota, and so the quota that will cover, that's fine. Secret will be there, and 8 will be config map. The high level deployment called daemon set, which is called DS, daemon set, right? So those things the related to your the deployment, then the troubleshooting will be too many things will be there. So let us try to understand one by one.
Santosh, one more thing I would like to understand about the stateful state.
A stateful set also we can discuss. Stateful set. So ST. So usually stateful set dealing with only the developer guys, but as your admin, you should know everything, or else you cannot give support to customer. Okay, so let us these are some advanced things will be there. So as you have started the Kubernetes career, let me understand you now. You are familiar with the namespace, everything more. Now inside the namespace, can I deploy the small application? Is it possible? Hey, can I deploy the application in my project? So what is the command to use? So if I just do you know, right, the command to deploy the application Docker, you're running a Docker run command, and you're just giving an image name. For example, I'll just use image name to nginx, then you're calling image equal to nginx image, hit enter. Right, so this is the command which is used for create a container in Docker. But if you want to do same way in Kubernetes, just remove Docker and you just put it out here. Fair enough. Okay, let me show you one thing over here. I'll just create a kubectl run. As you have already know the content Docker, so for me it is easy to explain you. I'll just mention image, which is image you are planning to use. I'm using nginx image. On which project you want to deploy? -n. I want to deploy Tesco the project. Hit enter. So what will happen here? It will just create one port, right? You can say container. So now if you just verify kubectl get port -n Tesco, you can see here one container is port is created. Right? So it's very simple, right? So let us try to, we will dealing with what is port and how do you discuss with pod. We will go through the each and everything.
So if you're using kubectl, there will be no need to run Docker commands in the open
Yes.
Kubernetes environment.
Yes, yes. You don't need to run just all the Docker command. How Kubernetes they made it easy. Whatever Docker command you are using, some remove the Docker, put it in at fast kubectl. That command will just replace over here. So that yes, Anu. So some kind of thing scenario that will work, but it's not like everywhere. But since Docker is already installed in your all the environment, you can run Docker inspect command to verify Docker ps-a command, but you can't deploy direct Docker command in Kubernetes. But after deploy, you can run all the command to identify, verify the resource all the details. Okay.
Containers on which node or any namespace? Do you have any control?
Excellent. Yes. See, that is what I told. Whenever you run this command, if you have not declared this option, this pod will create in your current project. Okay. So that is what I specify. This command should deploy this application on this particular project only. Okay. And your question is, whenever you deploy, can I create this pod should go to only specific node, right? You can do that with that also.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me go through that the syllabus. 1 second. I'm getting on call. Okay, so let me say the slide.
Sir, one doubt is there.
In the doubt you have in the pod doubt, which one?
That Indian X we just means the name is told.
Which one?
Indian X just now we installed. It will go to the worker node, right?
Yes, worker node.
We did it in master node only.
No. You see, it's not like that. You can run this as a command anywhere. It doesn't matter. You should be in that master node app. You just log into master URL. Okay. You are logging to URL. Doesn't mean that you should SSH master and deploy the application. Okay. How the customer will deploy? Customer will use a URL. So that URL, there you can go and deploy. It's not like that. I can log in kubectl command. I can run in worker node as well. From there, I can connect to my master URL. What the point?
Yeah, but the point is, now we did it in master, so we can see in
forget about master. Okay, I didn't log in master. I have required one machine where I can directly connect to the URL. Okay, so that is what you check over here. You are in config. So when you run your kubectl config view, you are in this URL. Okay, this URL has a two machine. You are logging to this URL. You can log in through your client machine as well. Anywhere you can log in. But how the customer can log in? Customer, I can directly log in on this machine as well, right? If the IP address is matching, I can directly log in from here as well. Got the point? So industry has the same network will be there. So anywhere they can log in. Suppose you have to create a cluster and customer using laptop. From there they have just open a URL, hit that IP address, they can log in my cluster master console, they start working on it, right? So whenever you deploy the application, that port should go to the worker node. Okay. Hopefully you clear. Okay, so guys, let me show you about what exactly we are dealing with our port. So if you go to our definition of the port, I will say this video. So what exactly this pod will do? So initially, if you think this pod is nothing but small, suddenly you need the Kubernetes, right? And the pod does not Kubernetes does not run container directly. Instead of directly container, first it will create one pod. Inside one pod, you can go and deploy your n number of applications. So one container, one pod can has a multiple container, right? If I think about Docker environment, each container will get IP address, but in Kubernetes, IP will get in the pod only. So pod IP will same IP can communicate to multiple container, but one pod can hold multiple container as well, but you should limit yourself, right? So whenever some possible, you should have only one pod has one content, that is good way, right? So because the pod are scale up and down as units, so if one container down, your entire application, suppose if you have one application you have deployed, two containers running. If one container down, your your entire application also goes down. So always two containers should be up and running. That is the dimension. All container is a pod must scale together. So you instead of having a multiple container one pod, try to make it only for one container one pod, right? That is recommended way. But some urgent cases, you have to go for multiple containers. So you will see that how to deploy multiple pod, multiple container. That's fine. So you think here, this is my worker node. Whenever you deploy the application, it will create one pod, right? So here you can see this pod has a two container, and this pod you can see one container only, and this pod you can see one container. So n number of pod you can create in one container. So to create a pod, what you're going to use, you should use a Docker image. That means Nginx, MySQL, WordPress, those are images. So if images is there, just run single command, the pod will deploy in worker node, will assign one dedicated IP. That means these IP are dynamic IP, guys. So the IP will change if the pod will be deleted. Okay, so that will be the whole about your pod. So if I say here, fine, you can see this diagram. This diagram you can see pod has multiple replica. Those things will be there. So before we going through this high level the definition of the pod, you can see one small diagram I just created. Let's, for example, you just assumption, guys. Right now, for example, you want to deploy one application in Kubernetes. Before we head into understanding what is pod, right? So we think that our Kubernetes cluster is already set up is there, and the worker node also configured, everything is there. I am planning to deploy the application, and my Kubernetes is able to pull images from Docker Hub. Everything I have configured. Doesn't matter how many worker node there, how many master there, doesn't matter. I just simple one application I want to deploy. Now you think here you have one images which is called Docker image. What is the next? This image you want to deploy in Kubernetes cluster. So who will create this Docker image? Right now Docker image also created Kubernetes admin guys, and also mostly the developer guys will create a container. Sometime customer will ask, can you please help me to give me one images where this library are already installed? So you can do that way also as well. One second. Okay, so next thing will be, we will talk about more in the code. So here, if you just go to a little next slide over here. So next slide, if I go to the next slide, you can see, as we discussed before, in Kubernetes, our ultimate aim is to deploy our application in form of container and set of machine that configure as a worker node in a cluster. That means the next, what is the target, guys? Our ultimate aim is we just need to deploy the application in Kubernetes clusters. Whenever I deploy that, we can say pod. So where my application will deploy? Worker node. So I can say a pod is the smallest object that you can create in the Kubernetes. And I can say a pod is a single instance of application, right? So what exactly it will do? If I just create one more over here, not save, I don't need to save. So how it will creating? The first, whenever you deploy, suppose whenever you execute command. So when you run a command call like docker run, you just give a name of images, for example, nginx. I'll give image equal to nginx, right? So when you hit enter, it will create one container. It will just directly create a container, and container will assign the IP address. This will be our Docker. How about Kubernetes? In a Kubernetes, you just run a command called kubectl and just run. What is the name of application name? Application name will nginx, or I can say nginx POC, right? And what is the name of images? So always you can use this name. Not always, you can use any names to deploy the application. So whenever you hit enter, what it will do, it will create one pod. Inside pod, it will create a container. That means how exactly it will do, guys? If you see here, it will just create one boundary. It will create one boundary, and inside I'll just say this is create one pod. So what is the name you given? The name you given called nginx. So if nginx -poc, that I can say this is my pod. So when you say when you mention image equal nginx, inside pod it will just try to create one container. So which that container is using nginx image, right? So this is the whole about your code, guys. So same thing, if I go see my diagram over here, you can see here, first in the worker node, first it will create a pod. Inside pod it will create small container inside. So I can say that a container are encapsulated into Kubernetes object, the known as pod. I can say that pod is a single instance of your application. I can say a pod is the smallest object, so that you can create in Kubernetes. That's all about, guys. That is called pod, right? So, for example, the next thing is what? Suppose if I go to my next slide. So, what will happen if I have a single pod? So, if I have the single pod, if this pod goes down, then my end user, the customer, cannot be able to access. So how do you replicate that? How do you create same application? Do you think when I create same application, that means it will create looks like it will inside? When you do replica, do you think it will create one more pod? That image you will see here, one more. Do you think it will create one more? No, guys. It will create one dedicated, one more code with the same replica, same images. Will try to going to Good. Right? Even this goes down, still I can able to access my second pod application. So that is what you can see this diagram. So this diagram, suppose you have the Kubernetes cluster and you have two worker nodes. And for example, now you have one application which is running your web application, web server application is running. Now here you can see end user. The end user is increasing. So whenever n number of customer increasing, the n number of customer will try to hit one particular port. So in that case, you can see my port will unstable. Sometimes it will restart. Sometimes this port will go down because n number of guys are accessing. Do you think when I do replica inside port, it will create one more port? This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong, guys. So it will create one separate independent one boundary, independent one port. Inside port, it will hosting the same application and replica. So I can see this is wrong. It will create one more over here. This is called, guys, one more node have a one more the replica. So this is nothing but taking care by your Kubernetes.
So this pod will be created in the same namespace or?
Same, excellent, same namespace, yes. So the pod will create in the same namespace and the pod will move to next available node. So even if you have one node, replica will create same node. But if you have multiple node, the replica will go and create in different worker node.
Okay, but if the pod has, a pod can only have one container, one dedicated container.
Okay. Yeah.
A pod is supposed to have only one dedicated container, or it can have several containers.
You can have a several container, but make sure when you have a several container, that means several container means at a time all containers should up and running. If any second container something goes corrupt, your entire application goes down. So it's recommended way one port should have one container, but some application they use some multiple containers, so they can go that way also. So doesn't matter, the based on your application requirement, you should create a multiple container as part of single pod. But it's recommended as a Kubernetes, you should go for one pod has a one container. But there is no limit. You can go ahead and create with multiple container. So that will be risk with the customer and the user. So we are not going to dealing with if that issue will be there. We are not dealing if application goes down.
So when you but I've seen in your command, you are only specifying the container name. You're not specifying the pod name.
So you have to, when you say the commands when I execute, this is the name of pod name. This is the pod name.
Oh, okay, pod name.
Okay. Yeah, this is the pod name, and this is your container. Nginx is a container.
Okay.
So it will create one Nginx pod, and this image will hosting your inside your pod. That means I can say pod is a container. Pod is an instance. It's a small object in Kubernetes. Okay. So this diagram, all of you, whenever you do replica, the replica will have the separate pod will create, independent pod will create, there will be no link. So if this is the case, this is wrong. So that is what we should create the new pod with the new replica.
I have a question. For example, if we have only one worker node and if we have to do a replica, then we have to create another worker node, or
yes,
that can be can be automated.
Let me tell you. So when you have a one worker node as industry, there should not have a one worker node. So that is the Kubernetes will say. So make sure you should host your application different, at least 2-3 worker node. So if one worker node goes down, still second worker node will give you. But for example, if you have one worker node, if you create a multiple replica, controller will think I have only one worker node, so I don't have any option. Customer is required I got a requirement for API, create a replica, I don't know. So he will create a replica with same worker node as well. But as a recommended way, you should have a multiple worker node when you do replica.
Can creating multiple worker node can be automated, or it has to be done
No, that
manually?
is not automated, because you should follow the process. Yesterday, whatever steps I did work on node, you have to follow those steps. qvarium join command you have to run. That node will add it to your existing cluster.
Okay.
Okay. Once you have multiple worker node, the controller will be make sure he will not send the same replica with the same worker node. He will send that node, that pod will go to different worker node. That will be automatically taken care by your controller.
But for some reason, if at some point of time, say it was supposed to go to one, say worker node 2, and it went down at that point of time, and that's so there's only one node available, so it would create on the same node.
Yes, it will create on the same node. So if you feel that in that case, so Kubernetes, what Kubernetes will do, whenever any next available node will be there, he will try to recreate that pod and send it to next available node. That is automated, taking care by controller only. Whenever the new node will be available next time.
So there is a check run every.
Exactly.
There's a time where it syncs and sees, okay, if there is nodes available. If it's not, so there's some routine running in the background.
Yes.
Okay.
Every time the controller controller is going to monitor your cluster. Will see node is ready. Will check pod is ready. Pod are running states. Will say how many replica you have mentioned, 4. How many are the 4? Whether the 4 is the different node. If not, then he will just automatically do those things.
Right. Thank you.
Another question, for example, if we have hosted a database of application on any of the node, okay, and we have a replica, we have created another worker node and replica has been done as well. How the database replication will be happen? For example, if one worker node is down, automatically the replica node that will take over the load and it will start processing everything.
Yes. So these are the beauty things will be there in Kubernetes. So that is what if you are in a Kubernetes admin, these are the things you're not worry about, because automatically Kubernetes will taking care. So believe me, if you get a chance to working with OpenShift Kubernetes, it's not like you will get the call how you're getting call in Linux admin. My VM is down, my application is down, come to P1 call, those things you will not get in the Kubernetes, right? So that is the only beauty product. Automatically he will going to check your application. Always your application should run multiple. So when you go in your application go live, so they will have a multiple worker node, so that even if 1-2 worker node goes down, still you can able to access, right? So but some cases if worker node went down, you are the responsible for as a Kubernetes admin team is responsible for the bring of node, make a ready state in your Kubernetes cluster. That is your job. You should monitor your cluster always, the node master, every time the node status will be ready state.
No, the question is, see, I have a worker node 1 and worker node 2, and the database is running on both the nodes. And for some reason, the worker node 1 is down, so worker node 2 will take over all the load and start processing.
Yes.
Once we fix the issue on worker node 1, how this data replication which has happened, or whichever it has been processed in worker node 2 is going to replicate in worker node 1.
See, that one application guys, they have a design, okay? So they should have multiple replica. When you say 2 worker node, you have hosting a database, the server, and when you say worker 1 goes down, all the traffic will, instead of sending all the traffic, the Kubernetes will send all your traffic to go into the first pod itself. Okay, that is called worker node 1 only, right? But in that time, controller in backend, what is the job of the controller? Controller will be trying to create the pod replica pod only, right? And next time, whenever your worker node goes up, there is a called service endpoint will be there. So next class will be the service will be there. The service again, he will send those traffic to then available endpoints are there. So that will comes, whichever question you're asking, that will comes in the service. Automatically it will taking care of the load balancer all things. The Kubernetes concept is called the service load balancer will be there. Okay, so
And the data replication has to be done. That has taken care by the application team.
yes, application team, that cannot be manually, no? So because what they are doing, that they will use two storage. One is called DR storage, one production DR storage. So whenever automatical those data will be replicated in the both the environment, and whenever that if node will come up, automatically that data will be synced to your pod. So that will be taking care the storage team. Storage team will give you the both the DR storage and production storage. So that the automatic replication happens. So you don't need to worry about that.
Alright, I think if you use the persistent volume of MySQL, then pods will be using that volume, right? So it doesn't need to be replicated at all.
Yes. That is what I told you. So the storage has taken care. They have a persistence volume, but in the production case, sometimes they have a configure DR storage also there. So DR storage will automatically replicated will be there. While you configure the storage, automatically they will replication storage will be there. Whenever your data will writing on production storage, same data will be copied to your DR also. So those things you don't need to worry. So hopefully everybody clear what is.
I have excuse me. I have a question. You are talking about DR. Is it disaster recovery?
Yes, kind of disaster recovery.
Okay.
Okay. So this is what the pod you have here deployed. So how can I deploy pod? You can, if you want to deploy a pod, which command you should use? The command you need to use called kubectl command. So whenever you use a kubectl command, kubectl run, nginx is a name of the pod, and it will just use the image you're going to use called nginx guys. So what exactly he will do? And this is the node. Inside the node, it will try to create one pod. But do you think can end user can access your pod? He can't access your outside end user can't access, right? This is only internal communications, and how the end user can hosting your website, that we will see later. Okay, so these are the things support guys. So let me give you a little demo of this the pod right now. So hopefully everybody clear what is pod. So as I told you, you can say pod is a container, pod is instance, right? And inside pod has host multiple container, and the Kubernetes will assign the dynamic IP address to pod, right? So whenever you delete a pod, you will get the new IP address again, right? So we will strictly focus only the pod. The pod has some kind of issues will be there. Next we will see the different kind of the deployment instead of the single pod. So let me see over here. I have get project. If I can see, oh sorry, project is not there. We'll see kubectl config get.
You have to do
context,
NS, I think, instead of project.
Get
It's
yes,
not offensive.
yeah. So I am in Tesco project right now. So if I try to deploy my application, so I can see how many pod is running. If I just get PO, you can run PO stand for pod, or you can run pod, both are same. So let me try to recreate. I just delete this pod. I will again, I'll recreate. So let me see here. I am in logging to my current project. So be careful whenever you're working with the Kubernetes. You don't need to switch to some other customer project and deploy. Anyway, customer will access only customer project. The customer does not have access to access some other customer project, right? That will be RBAC policy will be there, right? So that we will see later, not now. So how to deploy the application in Kubernetes. So to deploy application, you need a Docker image, right? So you have to tell Docker image, use that image, deploy. application Kubernetes. So which commands we should use? We should use kubectl run. You have to give what is the name of your application. I'll say the application called Nginx. The name is called Nginx. Okay. And what is the image you want to use? I can use -f image, make a tab. You just give image. So when you mention image Nginx, so which version of image you will try to pull? Always, if you're not mention anything, we will try to pull latest image always. Okay. And as I just want to hit enter. So when you hit enter, this application will deploy on your current project. My current project will be test4, right? So just hit enter. So now you'll get one message that your pod is created. So very simple to deploy application in the Kubernetes. So just run a command kubectl get pod. So now you can see my one application is running space. Nginx one application is created. I can say this is my pod. Okay. Here you can say ready. That means here one also stand for you have used one container. One container is a part of Nginx, and also one you can say this is ready, and this one is a ready with running, right? And you can see here status. This is status is nothing but what is the current status of your pod. This is my warning. Did my application restarted? No, it's not restarted. When you deploy your application, this is the age of your application.
Get into a particular namespace.
How do you get into namespace? Already discussed, no? Get context command. This command you can use, no? kubectl get ns. That means you didn't execute that command in your machine. What you do, okay? So config, run the config, set -context, okay? And you can use a namespace. Which namespace you want to go? For example, I want to move to default project. I'll just get into my default project, and here you have to use a current. So current, you can use current. Now you are into default project. Now how do you check you're in default project? You just mention your kubectl config get context. So this command will tell you whether you are into which project. Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
Hi Santosh. Could you just go to the command kubectl describe pod nginx, the command which you executed earlier? Yes,
okay.
yes, please.
So now you tell me if I run this command. So if I just do hit enter, whether it will work. So this command we will check whether this project is running under default. You will just check this command on default project, right? Because on the default project also this project is this pod is already running, so that is what it's getting, right? So, but if I want to see the namespace, I will just simply say I want to check this pod on which namespace. I should give the namespace command. Yes. So here, any doubt you have?
Yeah, Santosh, this is Mrunalia. So I just wanted to check the conditions type that are there in the pod. So what are these actually? Can you just go through these 4 or 5 types? What exactly does it mean?
See, the first thing, how the pod is trying to create. First it will do initialize. Okay, so first he will to try to see, you can see over here what exactly is doing. First he will try to pull the, first he will say the pod is assigned to this project. Okay, this is initialize stage. Second, he will try to, when this application will be ready, first he will try to pull the images first. If image is pulling, then it will try to pull images, start created content, started. But over here, if you see,
sorry for interrupting. This is kind of layer status in Docker image, like it's first layer.
exactly. So that is what I'm trying to explain him. So I think this thing, your Docker, you should
No,
have.
my question here is like the status is true. So when the status will be false here? And if the status is false, does it mean that the pod is up and running? That is what I wanted to understand. That's why I just raised this question.
Yes. So you don't worry about right
No,
now. Because
yeah, just to understand the
options,
condition status, like what these status are.
okay.
I was just going through because we are going through this pod chapter, right? So I just asked related to the pods. I'm not asking anything else.
Yes, that is what I am also trying to give you an answer. Okay. So the first thing, the first condition will be, there are 4 types will be there. First stages, stage 1, they will try to initialize. We will say the pod status will try to send it the project. So you are not going to give status to be false. There is no option to change that one. This will be stages of your application. How first it will success stage 1.
No,
then
Santosh, you didn't get my point here. I didn't say that you have to mark the status as false. I said when will be the status as will be as a false, and will, if it is a false, will it show here, and the reason for that in the conditions. That is what my question is.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to understand the types.
Yes, there are 4 stages of your application whenever you deploy. First stage is, if first stages will be failed, that means initialization will false, then next stages will not, it will not going to move to next stages. Okay, how these stages will happening? If there is no space available in your project, in your container, it do not have any space on it, then initialization will fail. Because first initialization will do, always initialization will say, okay, let me try to deploy application in your project. So you will try to initialize. If initialization will be success, then you will try to say, okay, let me try to make your application will be ready state, right? If ready state will be success, then you will say, yeah, your container image is trying to pull up. I'm able to pull my images. That means my this stage is also success. Then last stages will do, will try to deploy your application. So these are the 4 stages your application when you deploy in Kubernetes, and this will be also available in your Docker also. So in this first stages will be success, then it will move to next stages, then it will move to third, then it will go to next last. So last will be your pod scheduler, will be true. Then you will come to know your application status will be 1/1.
Okay, because that, okay, I got your point here. So we want to mention that the pod schedule, the the stage is pod schedule. And if you see in the event types, that's the top one.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
So one doubt is there, sir. In this means in Docker, we take the Docker logs and we can check it out what happened. So
yeah, you can also verify the log in application stages as well. Okay.
So here we need to give kubectl or Docker.
kubectl only. You don't need to be run the Docker command. You always have to deal with the kubectl command.
But you will see it here as well, right? In the describe if there's any failure.
You can also see the failure in that pod as well while you describe. But if you want to get more details about your application pod, then you just need to be run a command called kubectl, and the logs command can be used this command and copy just over here. You will see all the logs there. So if you have any kind of logs, right, this will be usually required. So whenever if your application is not coming up, right, so if your application is not coming up, there will be some reason your application is not coming up and how do you troubleshoot, then you should use a command called kubectl logs and port time. Okay, so if you are also can be used describe command, that will also help you. If you are still not happy with this log, then you can just run a command called get event command, right? So get event, I want to check get event of Tesco, then you just use hit enter. So this will tell you the complete the event message of your project. So what are the things going on? First, you will try to this command, you will try to assigning and pulling images, then successfully, then deploy state. You can also see that. So
Where is
these
the
are the
location of these logs? Like kubectl logs, Nginx won't help because their application running from very long time. So where are these default logs
so
kept?
you can still access your application log if your container is up and running. Okay, and that will be logs. You have to define whether your application, when you deploy Nginx log will be stored inside a specific flash var lib flash Nginx and Nginx.log. But if container die, you can't access your existing log. So that is what you have to assign one persistent storage to your application, so that even after die or even after delete your port, still you can able to access your container log. Yes, so there is a command called, you can also execute on command when your command will be going to stop. You can give a timeout period in your port, so that that particular time the port will be start and it will wait some time, again it will start the port. That parameter you can edit while you're deploying your application. That you I think you have to create a cron job for that. The cron job cron job will be there, that option, so you can give, but if application and if you mention the port going to the point I want my application should be stay only today only, right? So you can give a time, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour. After 3 hours the port will stop again. So again, you can use a cron job to start again. Yeah, both stop and start. Yeah, it will run cron job. Okay, guys. So we have just deploy the application. In my project, we have deployed one small application which is called Nginx application, and currently which is the running stage, and everything fine. So what is the next right now? What will happen if directly n number of users hitting to this port, then my port will goes down. In that case, required n number of application replica you should create. What will happen if you want to upgrade your images? So right now you are using some Nginx image you are using, and if you feel you want to change the image names, what will happen is you have to manually, it's required downtime, because you do not have any configuration file. You have only directly the port file. Only you have the port, right? So you don't have any separate that support files will be there. If you just don't get all -n Tesco, you have only single port. There will no replica. There will no deployment config file. Nothing will be there. That means what will happen if 100 guys will going to access, it will show you restart. Restart equal 1. That means if n number of hit will come to this port, again this port will restart. So overcome this problem, instead of having single instance, you should create multiple instance, right? So this is one problem. So if you have a single port, you cannot do replica. because replica, if you want to do, it's required a downtime, and you can't edit. Suppose if you want to edit your single port, so let me first of all set the config. I just want to change config set hyphen context hyphen namespace. I just want to move to my project, then will be adjustments current, right? Directly I can run a command here without press hyphen n. So after that, guys, if you just wanted to edit your project, so I'll do kubectl edit port, the nginx port, and this nginx port you can change over here. You can change the image name, whatever you want to change, but directly you cannot change over here. So if you're planning to change, you will say you should recreate again. You can't edit direct single port definition file, right? There are problem will be there if you directly deploy application to direct port. That is what there is the advanced level of deployment call for deployment config and application config will be there. So the next problem will be, suppose somebody asks question, hey, I want to change my image of current running port. How do I do? So, or else how can I take backup of this current port? So I just use kubectl get port, and I just use a command called -o. I'll go for YAML. So I'll get a YAML format output. So I can keep those output in. I'll just mention nginx.yaml. So here I can go for nginx. So this is whole output will be there in back of this. Let me. Okay, sorry. I'll create a nginx, right? So I can read that file. So anytime if you wanted to do so, all things will be available over here. And this is the backup. So you can restore your backup file even if you're deleted. So if you delete it, just you can take this file and run it here to kubectl. So same command, guys, restore commands, everything will be same, just you could type in here. Right? So the next thing was, I just wanted to check the IP address of this port, so I can use port -o white, and if I hit directly call command http / and refresh. So the default port number for nginx will be 80. Hit enter. So now I can see I can able to access thank you using for nginx. So I can able to access my application directly. So if n number hit will come to this port, so might be my port will be some cases my port will going to the restart, right? So and all the whoever going to access all the requests will go to my single container. So that is what I just show you the diagram over here. Instead of have a single container, you should create a multiple container. So to achieve this one, you should have a deployment file and you should have the replication controller, all things. Now,
so, sorry, Santosh, when you create replication, can you so you might be having a in an environment in application deployment, you generally have a kind of a master so your master node, and then you would have your active and a standby. So if you were doing your changes on the standby, obviously it won't be applied on the master. So can we use this type of architecture to actually work on the application, or how do you actually do in a real-time environment?
Real-time environment, you should have multiple worker nodes. See, this one you should manage your Kubernetes cluster. Make sure you should give a customer to multiple nodes. So if you give one node, then if the problem is what the customer doesn't know, right? The customer will say, hey, I have created multiple replica. But if you assign one node to one customer, they will think that multiple replica means if one port goes down, still I can able to access. So you should have multiple worker nodes. In the classroom also, if you want to do little more, so you can create one more node and you can join that node to cluster so that your code will travel both the worker node.
But generally the editing is done on the running node or the backup node?
You have a running node, not backup node.
Okay. And one more question is, okay, in your one of your commands you put current, I think on top.
That current will tell you that currently you are into that project.
Okay. Right.
So okay guys, like this, can you able to deploy the more application? So let me see you a little more details about playing with port. So this is my port. Can I deploy one more application? Yes. So how do you identify what are the images, which images I should use? Why should you use only Nginx? So if you feel that case, you go back to your Docker Hub. This is the link hub.docker.com. You can see your Nginx version. Whatever version you want to planning to use, you can go ahead and use those images. And if you're planning to use Redis application, you can pull all the images. You can see that Redis images are available. You can use that one. So all available images available in Docker Hub, you can use that one. Suppose if you want planning to use Tomcat, so you just click on Tomcat images. You will see all the Tomcat images. So this is the link. You can pull all the images. You can see what are the images are available in your cluster or in Docker Hub. Same images can be deployed in through using Kubernetes. Okay. So for example, somebody asked question, okay, I don't want to deploy. I need the port definition file. So how will I give? Suppose if I execute this get kubectl run, I just want to deploy Redis application, Redis, and I'll just use name of images will be Redis. So if I not give any tag, it will take the latest is the tag, and if you want to specify the name of version, you can go ahead and define the version of here. So anything could be fine. So I'll say that do not execute, do not run this command. I just give me that output of the YAML format. So I'll say dry run, give it the output. So you will see here it down the definition file of the port. If you want to get a definition port file, you can check it, the redis.yaml. So this command will be dry run, guys. You can use a dry run, or you can use dry run equal to client instead of dry run, right? So both commands would work. So you have taken backup, but you didn't configure. You didn't configure, right? Suppose I'll go to my Redis file, Redis.yaml file, and whatever things you wanted to change, you can go ahead and change it, right? If you feel something you wanted to add, change it, and in this YAML file directly I can deploy kubectl create -f Redis. So this will try to deploy through YAML file over here. Now if you see kubectl get 4, you can also, as you can see, the code is trying to create. Got the point? So can be deployed through YAML file. So if you want to do through YAML file, you just go ahead, run this command, get it a YAML file as well. Okay. So what I need to do now, right now, is so for example, I just want to delete. So I'll just do delete port. Port name will be Redis. The code is try to delete. 1 second, Sahil. Let me know. So some cases, if you did some kind of mistake over here, for example, I give Redis image will be something you have mentioned which is not available in mine. This image will not try to pull. So what will happen? So I just save this file and try to deploy it for this file. So it will just try to create the port. So you can see here what error you are getting. The error image pool. So this is one the error you will get in industry. They will ask you a question: what kind of issues you have faced recently? You can say, hey, I got one issue like error image pool. That means what is the status of my port? So port status. So what is the port status over here? The port status may be running, or maybe error status. Sometimes you feel error image pullback error, right? And sometimes you will see that init error, init/0, that initializing error. So initializing is not able deploying on initializing. That not a slash, it will show :0:/. And next will be crash loopback. Crash loopback. So these are you can see status of your port. So if you see the port status running, that means you can see my port is currently running state. If my port status is showing error, then why it's error? Then I told you that troubleshooting command. If is it error, mean which commands you should use? You should use log port name, a port name called Redis. You can see identified called qctl. So describe port Redis, or you can use kubectl get events. Okay, so these are the three troubleshooting command which is used for if my container is not running state. This is troubleshooting command of your application. Okay, and these are the status of your port. You will see the port status either running stage, error stage, error pullback. So error pullback, right? That's fine. This you will see this error pullback, image pullback error, init error. Init error initializing on is not going right. So the customer is going to try to help, or sometime they will ask can you give me comment on this? I'm unable to deploy my application. What is the error? Why I'm getting this error? So you have to identify the error of your application, and you have to give a suggestion, or you have to go inside the customer deployment config file, just see where it is coming the error. So you have to do that. Error image pool means whatever images he's trying to use, that images is not able to pull. That means if you're not able to pull that images, or if image is not available, or if you have used a different tag version which is not available, you will get error image pool. Initializing error means, which I have already explained. Crash loopback error means if your container is not healthy, right? Because if you mention some kind of health check of your container, so if your container will fail, it will crash loopback. So the crash loopback will be this error should be handled by customer itself. So usually the crash loopback will come if your container will be high utilization, if you are using single point of failure, or sometime you need to increase the application, increase the compute resource of your application, so you can resolve that issue. Or sometime if health check will fail, then you will get that error. So these are the error you will get, guys, usually while handling with application. So if while you attend the interview, if you say what kind of issues you are getting in the application, you just say sometime I'm getting image error image pullback, sometime getting error stage, or init error and crash loopback. So hopefully everybody clear the status of your port. Okay, so next will be if someone asks question, or how do I fix it? How do I fix this this issue? So I need to log in kubectl edit port. The port name will be Redis. I go back to the image, So here image, I can see this image is not good. So let me see which image you're planning to use. I'll go and see whether that image version is available. So I can see over here Redis. The customer has used the Redis image with 777, which is not available in Redis. You can say, hey, whatever images you are using which is not available, you can use either one of the version, right? Suppose if I go to 506 whatsoever, or I'll go to the Redis image version will be 6.0.5, and I'll just mention over here 6.0.5. Okay. So I told you, if whenever you edit this file, so let me save this file. What we're getting is, I told you code definition file you cannot edit. You cannot edit the code. This is the problem if you deploy application through direct code, right? You can't upgrade your image, you can't edit anything, right? And you cannot create a multiple replica, right? See, this is single failure. So instead of that, so what I'll do, so how to achieve this? Customer will say, that is fine, I'm just doing POC, please fix it. So what I'll do, guys, so first I will take get code, image name will Redis, -o, I'll take YAML output, I'll put it here redis.yaml, redis-backup. So you need to delete first your code, delete this code is deleted, then I go back to my definition file which I have taken backup, bkt. Here I'll just change the image name. What is my image name? I'll change the image name over here. I'll just put these images, save this file, and I can directly kubectl create -f redis -bkt this. So now if I hit enter, get code. So it's now my code is a running stage, guys. So you can do troubleshoot, but the problem is what? Require downtime. Now somebody asks me, my image Redis, I want to change this image 5.0.9. How to do? You have to take backup, then delete this code, then go and change this file, then was create. That means it is required downtime. So this is not a way to deploy application in production. If it's a POC, that is fine. Production, you cannot go. This is not way to upgrade customer application, right? So this is one the problem. So these are the problem you will face if you can directly go to
Santosh. I have a question. You actually edited the backup file and then you created a pod out of it. Now, if this pod becomes your main pod, okay, your production pod, and then you want to create a copy out of it so you can get it as a YAML file edited. So your replication generally runs unilaterally. Can't you run a reverse replication so that becomes primary, this becomes secondary? No?
Yeah, so by default, in even when you edit deployment file or customer application file, so this will go with rolling update. It will not impact your application. Okay, so that I will explain you in the deployment config file. So always you don't need to, you have taken backup right now today, but tomorrow might be a customer is saying so many things, right? You don't need to, you don't only worry about your taking backup. Always before editing, you should take backup current state of your application, because you are not dealing with the customer application. They have a lot of changes they did. So always you should take backup and you delete it and you do those ways. So those things, even though the customer will say, can you change the port number? I can change, but let me take the backup first. If any issue, then revert back whatever you did changes. Right?
Santosh, I do remember when we had an introduction for this, when you compared the Swarm versus Kubernetes, there was a point mentioning there that there is an automatic rollback if something is failure. So
Yes.
what is it in that context related to this, which you are saying that you should not directly edit the YAML file.
Yes. So this is what, because of overcome this problem, you just need to be deploy your application through deployment config file. So if you get to your deployment config file, then you will get automatically those things, whatever I told very first day class. You're just not going to moving now the next level of deployment config file. So
So
this here, yeah.
yeah, so just wanted to say, like as you said, that this is not the best practices to
Yes,
deploy
yes.
it via creating a file or doing a backup and doing the changes. This is not the way. For POC environment, you can do this kind of
POC you
things
can use, that is I
or a
told you,
demo
no?
purpose, right? But in the production, we will
Production,
use
you should
deploy,
use deployment, replica set, everything should be there. Then only the Kubernetes will give you monitoring automatically. If you delete, automatically it will create. Those things
but
will be
anyhow, it is a
automatic.
YAML file, right? So that will also use a YAML file, right? Means in general.
Let's see, once we discuss, you will clear, okay? Just wait.
Okay, thanks.
Um, Fair enough, guys. Whatever we discussed right now, that is fine. Anything if I miss? So, for example, let me see. Also, if you just deploy images, run. I just want to deploy Tomcat, so I can use Tomcat. I can use image equal to Tomcat image, and I need to using specific images or some specific namespace, right? So hyphen namespace you can using, or hyphen n you can go for. This should be deploying the full project. So here in chapter you will get one questions in your exam. So they will ask you to, they will ask create nginx port. They will ask that. Let me put it here. So how the question? This is exactly same questions you will get. Nothing will changes. They'll ask that create a pod. Name is nginx pod. That means this is my nginx. So pod name is this. Second, while you deploy pod, you should use image will be also nginx. Image you have to use nginx, and they'll say deploy this pod under the namespace will be CKA-Nginx. So first, what you need to do, if I directly run a command kubectl create run, sorry, not create, run. What is my pod name? So I will go for nginx. What is my image? Image I should use nginx. And on which project? Hyphen namespace. What is the namespace? I can go for the namespace will be CKA nginx. So I'll just copy paste over here. So if I hit enter, so what error you will also get saying? So first you need to check whether this namespace is available or not. So first you need to kubectl get ns. So I can see my CK namespace nginx not there. So first you need to create ns CK nginx. Just need to create. Once create namespace, then next command you need to run. So this is just answer to this question. In the pod, you will get only this question. So this is one question, so you will get it in your exam. So now you tell me, you can this question you can practice in a laptop without fail. You practice 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, it will be easy for you. So that means all exam question can be practiced on your personal laptop itself. So whatever questions I'm sharing those things right now we have already covered 3 to 4 questions of 24 chapter question, 4 important questions we have already covered. So please make a documented. Anyhow, you will get a special class for exam preparation, that is fine. But right now, if you practice, that will be easy for you.
So, sir,
Hmm.
one small question is there. Like, means we created one image, right? In the next row. So you said like that this is one image only. That is not a good way because of
one image is not good way. I told you.
I mean pod only. One single pod is there. So suppose 100 will come, then it will automatically restart. Right? So what is the solution for this?
I did not get. Can you just repeat 1 second? Didn't hear that one.
Means one pod we create.
One pod you have created. Okay.
Nginx suppose.
Nginx. Okay.
So you said like means one single should not be a good way. Multiple should be in the pod.
Yes. That is what we are going to dealing with the next chapter. So that you should have multiple replica instead of a single control. That is what we will dealing with the next one.
Okay. So it will be kind of load balancer, or it will be the
load balancer, replica, automatic deployment, automatically trigger. Everything will be do automatically. Okay.
Okay. Fine.
Fair enough. So we have discussed with
one more thing, sir. Like small application is there. Okay. So we can like fix like if this much it should become only for a single pod.
Yeah. So based on your customer requirement, if you think that hey, this application I will not get any hit for more than 100, I am good in single container. So if you are doing PNV testing, if you did your testing, or you will come to know, hey, my application can give support if at a time 500 guys can access. So you can go that way, right? So if you think that today's offer is there, multiple guys going to hit, then your application will down, right? Then you should have a multiple replica of your application. So if you do that way, the next advanced level of deployment, that is called your deployment file, instead of doing this way. Okay. Fine. I have got one more thing which I have missed. So there will be another way to deploy. You can also give a label. Suppose I'll just give a label. Here I can say production. So I can say production equal to tire, whatsoever you can give a label to your application. So I can say here Nginx 1, my image will be this. So what does means here this? So if you see here, Nginx get port -n CKA Nginx. Okay. So now if you see -- label, you will see sorry, -- here you can see here enough -- label show label show label. 1 second. Get port labels. S will be there. I just missed it. S. So you can see here the label will change to production type. So in deployment, you will get one more question. They will ask you one more question. They will say, question number 2, deploy one port. Okay. Create a port called Redis, and the image name you should use Redis latest. Please enable the label to your application. I'll just say production goes to tires, whatsoever, and they will also give you like this is test POC. Something, whatever they'll ask you to label. Multiple label also you can give one container while you're deploying. This question they will ask you in your exam. This is one of questions. So in related one questions you will get a creation namespace. One question they'll ask to deploy one, create one pod on one project. One more questions you will get to create a pod in specific namespace and add a label. So label means the commands which I told you can use. Yeah, these commands you can use. This command use. Suppose in my cases I have a two label. How do you define two label? So I can see here put comma. I'll give test equal to POC, and this name I will change nginx-POC. What's about? Or let me complete that question. Redis. Image name will be Redis underscore test. So you can give multiple label to a single pod, so that you can identify your pod through label. So get pod -- show label -- namespace will be equal to CKA-Nginx. So now you can see here the labels. These are the things. These questions will definitely, the question will not going to change. These are the question. So guys, I'm just finishing your chapter, not skipping any kind of things, whichever things day to day I'm using, troubleshooting application issue. So in this chapter you have learned application issues, image pullback error, error stage, init error, crash loopback error, right? So those things you have to explain. So fair enough. This all is all about our pod class. How do you deploy pod in OpenShift cluster, and what is the issues you are facing if you have the pod? Fine. So can you have a lunch break right now? You are hungry, or we will continue another 1 hour? We will stop the class. How do you think? It's already 2 o'clock.
We can probably continue for
Another.
Yeah, probably 45 minutes is 1 hour. Yeah.
Do you need small 5 minutes break?
5 minutes will do. Yeah, 5 minutes will do.
5 minutes.
Yeah, so 5 minutes break. I told you initially I don't need a break. Feel free to tell when you need a break.
5 minutes should be okay. Yeah.
Okay. Fine, guys. We will be back another 1:55. We'll be back.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.